Hey everybody, Ron Vainberg here. Welcome to another edition of the Ron Vainberg Originator Podcast. And today I am incredibly excited to have Denise Panza from Total Mortgage on with us today. Welcome, Denise. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks for letting me be on here and sharing.
Well, Denise, I'm so glad you accepted my invitation because I see you on social media and you are a 30-year veteran of the industry. You are a Gen Xer, which is pretty much the sweet spot for the average age of originators in the industry. And there are so many that either struggle with social media, and that's how I got to meet you and got to know you, seeing you all over my feeds, constantly, and it's never boring. It's never boring. But I want to give everybody a little bit of backstory here because I had the pleasure of speaking with Denise a little bit before we set this up, about a couple of weeks ago. And this is the most mind blowing thing, which I didn't know when I was first discussing having Denise on the program. She's scared of the camera. Denise, is that correct? You're scared of the camera?
I'm just shy in general, but yes, of the camera, oh my God.
Yeah, one of your first questions about the podcast is it going to be live? And no, this isn't live. So, but
Insert anxiety if it was.
so what I want to do is I'm not my training and my coaching is all about the blocking and tackling and some of the mindset. But whenever I bring on guests who are doing what I consider amazing things or at least certainly not the norm, I want to get inside your mind because on one
Because
part you're telling me
careful
you're
what you wish
shh.
for.
If nothing else, it's going to be entertaining, right? But you share. I know you love your wine. I know you share so much about your life. How does someone who's shy do that?
Because it's just me alone, like solely alone in my home with this thing. So for that, it's like there's no one else there. There's no you, there's no podcast, there's no live audience. I could like never do that. So it's just me and my phone. So I'm comfortable in my own skin. So that's easy. I know that, thousands of people are going to eventually watch it, but that's okay. They're not watching it at that moment. So I'm good.
That's incredible how you put that in your mind to overcome this fear. So, for any, to me, that's the first tip. If you are struggling to be on camera and you're struggling to create videos, take a piece from what Denise just gave you, and that is just it's you and your camera. It's nobody else. I also love the one thing about social media is even if you mess up, screw up, or what have you, and I used to be the perfectionist, it has a lifespan of about 8 seconds. After that, there's a million other posts that have come out, and unless you do something that is so viral, it doesn't last very long. And in the mortgage industry, there's only two ways I think we can be viral. Say something really, really stupid or really, really funny, and then maybe it can go out viral. Other than that, if we're talking about mortgages or the business, probably doesn't last that long. Would you agree with that?
True. I agree with that. True.
So you talk about so many things. What are your favorite things to talk about?
My kids.
Your, your
But
kids? Okay.
I have to, digress. I can't really talk about them all day long on social media, but I love talking about mortgages. I do, but I also can't talk about that all day long either because some people are going to be like, "All right, girl, enough."
So,
Um,
so you mix it up.
I do. You have to.
Where do your ideas come from to create your posts?
Oh gosh. You know, mostly I'm an empty nester, so I have a lot of free time. And I'm not one to go out to real estate offices. You're never going to see me knock on a door. I'm never going to walk into a real estate office or I've done like one lunch and learn in like over a decade. So for me, I just I sit at my desk and I work and I play on social media. So I do, look and see what's out there and what I can do that's either different or somewhat similar. Or I mean, I definitely gather a lot of ideas on there. or just in my
Yeah.
head, in my everyday life, just, running around Naples. And I'm like, oh, let me talk about this. Whatever just pops into this mind. I kind of wing it, Ron.
Well, and that's honestly why I wanted to have this today because so many of us are overthinking social media. Now, me personally, what I teach and I coach to is certainly I love what you do, Denise, and that's absolutely it's just you being you on camera. And I urge anyone, if you haven't watched Denise, just look up Denise Panza, and you're primarily on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes. I'm on
Yeah.
Facebook and LinkedIn, but I mean, I'm on Facebook and Instagram too. That's where I do like more fun stuff. But yeah, LinkedIn is like my favorite platform.
That's where I always see you, or that's where you're always showing up in my world.
Sorry.
But I love that. Don't be sorry. I love that you are just talking about all different things, but I also teach or believe that you got to combine it with business, excuse me, as well. Because otherwise, th- there's a certain portion, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I honestly think in front of the camera, on social media, you're a better expert than I am because it just flows so easily for you. You've always got a smile. You've always got, you're just always in such a great place, which again comes back to being mind blowing the fact that you're nervous. So that you do that. But when you think about tips for business, it's easy for you to be going around Naples or wherever you are and just, you see something and you want to post it and you're totally great with that. But for business, which has to be part of it, because otherwise people just see you as a fun-loving, easygoing person, but they're not necessarily connecting you to, hey, you're a professional mortgage originator. So when you think about putting out content for originators, what are the thoughts that go behind that?
That's easy. Stories of actual scenarios and clients. Everyone loves stories, right? I mean, I'm engaged by a story. It has to be a fun story. It has to pull on the heartstrings, hopefully. It can't just be, yep, just closed the loan for, Jack and Jill last week and they are so happy with their new home. Like it has to be something.
I,
And this business, there's always, I mean, there's no two loans alike. There's always a story that other people want to hear.
I started wincing, and I'm sure the audience may have seen that. If not, you can rewind. But I started wincing when you talked about, the typical and average post because that is what so many people do. So stories are key for many reasons. One, they're entertaining. Two, they're engaging, and three, we learn from them. And so when you create a story, not create, I'm sorry, you have a story. Is there anything that you do to prepare yourself and how you tell the story?
I might just sit here and just kind of maybe I'll talk to myself and just kind of in my mind how I think it's going to go. Just like sometimes I'll do that just for a couple of moments. But I think sometimes my best videos are the ones where I might have just hung up with the client and then I'll just get on the camera. And then those are more like authentic and you just run with it and you're just excited you have to share or you're just those are the best ones. You can't really put much. Sometimes, Ron, when you put too much thought into it, it's a disaster. You really just have to spend like a couple of minutes and then just go for it.
Uh, I I love the what you're saying. It's kind of what I do. There are times I'll finish a coaching call or a training, and there are ideas that come up to me during those trainings or coaching. And if I can, I'll grab the camera, I'll get in front of a camera, and I'll record a tip really quick. Other times, if I'm going back to back and I can't, I make sure I write it down. But you just said something that I think is so important. And to me, I believe it's really a game changer for many Gen Xers and boomers, which is what I am. I'm on the edge of the boom. And that is, we get so far in our head about what we're going to record, how we're going to look, and whatever. To me, the joke is people say, I hate the way I look on camera. Well, guess what? That's how you look on camera. Okay. So unless you start using filters or whatever, and to me, hey, this is me. There's no filter for better or for worse. Um, but what you said was you get off a call and there's a story and you just kind of stop what you're doing and make a recording. if the mood strikes or if it's a powerful enough story. Is that correct?
Right. That's the best. That's when you're, it's, yeah, that's the best.
That what you were just going to say, and I think that's the best because you're in state.
Yes.
You're in the emotional state, so you don't have to manufacture the story later. You're coming off the high, like you just helped Mr. and Mrs. Jones do whatever. The emotions are flowing. They just closed. They just got off the phone with you, and they thanked you profusely for making their dream come true. So now you're feeling it. So is it a lesson to everybody watching that that would be just a great time to pick this up and make that recording?
True. Think about it. If you waited a week and then you were like, oh, I really want to post something today. Oh, remember what happened on Monday with, the Jacobs? It's just not going to be, it's not going to come out like it should come out. You know what I mean? Like it could come out and have the best impact and benefit to those that are listening.
I'm going to issue a challenge to everybody who's watching this. Denise, tell me what you think of this challenge. When you start going through social media and watching videos, okay, and watching videos of originators or anybody, and they're telling a story. Look, there is a small percentage of people that are just incredible storytellers, and they can turn it on any day, any time, any minute, any second. But that's not the majority of people. So I would ask anybody who wants to take this challenge, when you start going through social media and you start watching videos, especially in our industry, and somebody's talking about a story, see if you can tell the difference, whether it was something that they rehearsed or maybe it was so bad they didn't rehearse it, but it certainly wasn't the emotion behind it versus what Denise just talked about, which is you did a video, you're watching a video and you can tell that they're totally in the moment.
That's
And I mean, would
awesome.
you agree that would be a great lesson?
That's awesome.
Okay, so, well, you're saying that's awesome. That's the lesson that you just gave. That
But just
wasn't
but
me.
hearing it, I never really actually thought about it and talked about it. But now that we just did, I'm like, that's exactly what you have to do.
That is a big, that is, can be a big game changer. What other advice would you give? And I know this is not easy for you. First of all, like you being on camera, even though we are not technically live, but it's going to be seen by a lot of people. You just go with the flow. You just do you. How how do we turn that into an instruction, a lesson, even more than what we've already given for the audience, for someone who's struggling? Okay, how would you
So I think
coach
for someone
someone?
who's, yeah, a lot of people will ask me like, they'll message me on LinkedIn, like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And you just got to start with that first video. And I always say that you should probably send it to me, let me look at it, or, send it to your bestie and let your bestie look at it. Let somebody else look at it first, like, or one or two people, maybe your kid, somebody, a parent, let them just look at it first. And then they can give you some feedback, some honest feedback, like constructive criticism. I do that to this day. Sometimes I'll do a video. I'm not really, I'll do like two takes because, I said something that I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't sound right. And then I'll send it to my girlfriend and I'm like, which one do you like better? And likewise, they'll do it with me. Because it's just, sometimes they're raw and you just go for it. But sometimes you're like, there is more than one take, right? Because I talk fast and sometimes my words mumble and I got so much going on in my head that like, it just, comes out crazy. But you have to just do the first one. You have to get
Well,
the
you
first
talk.
one out of the way. Oh, and here's the thing too, because I look back you can look back and I started doing these like, I think like 6 years ago. And I had like, 23 likes, 10 likes, 13 likes. If I had stopped, do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have continued. So that's going to be frustrating. There you are going. I've had friends, they start doing it and then they don't see the likes and then they bow out gracefully. But you can't do that. You have to be consistent. Oh my gosh, if there is one thing I can say with LinkedIn, you have to be consistent if you want it to, eventually turn into something special.
Define consistency.
Well, I mean, I have some folks on there that post every day and I love that and I'm jealous of them. I wish I could. But then you just get caught up in your day and you just doesn't happen. But I would say consistent would be, for me, I would love to post. I feel good about myself if I can post at least like 4 times a week, 5 times a week.
Times a week. Have you ever had anybody tell you you post too much?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay. And that's one of the things that we've got to all recognize. And I will tell you, Denise, and I'm telling all of you, I struggled with this in the beginning where I was so focused on perfection in, the videos, and it would take me 10, 12, 14. I think the record was like 19 takes to get something right. And until finally one day I just realized I just got to stop giving a shit. This is me. This is who I'm going to be. I'm never going to say anything to be offensive to anybody, but I stopped overthinking. And I also realized that if you have a flub on a video, you can just keep going. You don't have to start all over. You can choose whether you want to delete it out or not. But one thing, my belief is that social media, you get to show people who you really are. And I think a lot of people who post try to be someone they're not. What do you think? Do you agree? Disagree?
So, I mean, sometimes you can tell that it's so like structured, you know what I mean? Like, loosen up. I want to see who you really are, have fun with it. I mean, if anything I can share, just you have to have fun with it. Otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy. Like I have fun with it. I make fun of myself. I just humor is, humor is huge for me. And I think you can I think it's something that all of us can like, kind of um just bond together over humor. So humor is important. I get not everybody has a sense of humor, and that's fine. I'm not saying that they shouldn't post, but you just have to have fun with it and loosen up a little bit and not care. Like I don't when that and it's probably more than one person that told me like you post, you're always on my feed. Okay, well then I don't know, remove me. But I'm not changing. Like I'm sorry, buddy. Like
Exactly.
I'm here. I'm doing this.
Right. See, that's kind of baffling to me. You're always on their feed. Yeah, duh, because you're posting 3 to 4 or 5 times a week. But instead of pointing that out to you, why don't they just unfollow you?
No.
You know,
No.
I learned this. This is a very important lesson that I've learned. And Denise, it seems like you already got this lesson because I used to struggle with this. And no matter how hard you try, there's always going to be someone who's going to be a hater. There's always someone who is, and usually the hate comes from one of two places. And this is, from my psychology, in what I teach and what I train. And the hate comes from two places. It either comes from that person's having a really crappy day and they feel like they've got to lash out and you're an easy target, meaning you, me, whomever. You're an easy target because the timing just hit right, or they're jealous. And rather than look at the person and say, wow, how do I become or do what they do? It's easier to go negative and try to tear that person down. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it does. There's three. It's the one who had a bad day, it's the one who is jealous, and then it's just the knuckleheads. There's just a lot of people out there that are miserable, and they'll just write like, "Who is this chick? Is she like, and I'm like, really? Like that's so mean.
Right,
Like, what did I ever do to you?"
right. But what happens is they're going to look at you, and that's where the jealousy comes in. I remember many years ago, early on, early years of my business, 27, 28 years ago, whatever it was in the beginning, I handled all of my own emailing. And when I say my own emailing, it wasn't like, you're using these mass services or whatever. I was doing the emails right from my own computer and managing it, managing the unsubscribes, seeing all the responses and everything else. And early on, because I used to want to just make everybody happy. And I still do want to make everybody happy, but I used to believe that I could. And I sent out an email. I would send out emails. And you get the unsubscribe and you get, please remove me, and that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. But every so often you get a little bit of that hate email, and every so often I would get a person who would respond like you thought I murdered their family member. You're a low life scam. I'm saying this by the way, really nice. You're a
Yeah.
low life scammer, piece of this, whatever. I wouldn't email for months because I'm like, oh my God, how could I upset someone like that? I can't. That's not who I am. I don't do that. And then the game all changed for me one day. One day I wish it's one of those emails I had saved, the most vile, vicious response in my history. I really thought this guy eviscerated me for sending an email. And I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden, I'm like the sweat, and I was bald then too, so I'm feeling the sweat on my head and whatever. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden, I started laughing. I literally started laughing as I'm reading
Oh,
this,
I
and I'm
get that.
like, and I go, this guy's response has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with what's going on in his life. He is so effing miserable or in such a bad place that I am an easy target versus just clicking the unsubscribe. He unleashed this attack. And ever since then, I've been cured of having a fear because if somebody gives me constructive criticism or recommendation saying, hey, I saw this, but you can maybe do this or that a little bit better or
Totally
whatever,
different. Totally
I'll,
different.
ta- I'll take it. I'll take that from a stranger if it's coming from a place that they really care. But the person who's doing that, and look, it's gotten to the point that on my programs now, my live broadcasts, my live webinars, which I'm very engaging in the chat box, I tell people, I say, look, if you don't like what I'm saying, please leave. I won't be offended, but I don't need keyboard warriors here because
Yes.
I've had them, and ever since I started making that announcement, guess what? I don't have any more keyboard warriors anymore. But I
Good.
used to have people who would throw shit into the middle of the chat box,
That's so
and
mean.
it's like get a life. Okay, you don't
But
like it?
but yeah, that's so true. It did happen to me. In the very beginning, I used to take it really personal. I would like text all my friends, "Do you see what this person said to me? That's so mean." I would either be sad and then I'd be like, "Oh my God, wait, hold up. The Brooklyn is coming out in me and I'm about to," and I would type up this whole thing and they're like, "Don't send that." And then because you just want to be like, "Who are you to write me that? That's so rude." And then I do what you do now. And I'm like, I'll see it. Not, if somebody writes something inappropriate or rude, and I'll just show my girlfriends, and I'm just like, really? Seriously? Is she serious or is he serious? Like, you have to laugh it off. You have to.
Yeah.
Cannot take
Sometimes,
it personal.
sometimes I'll even reach out to the person. Depends on my mood, but sometimes I'll reach out to the person. I'll say, you know, I'm sorry that feel the way I read your response, and I apologize. Okay, I've had people say, "What are you apologizing for?" I'm like, apologies don't make you weaker; they make you stronger.
Yeah,
Some people think
yeah,
apologies is
that's
a
true.
sign of weakness. Apology is not a sign of weakness. Apology is a sign of strength because
100%.
I'll apologize, and if the person accepts it, you have most of the time they'll respond. They'll say, "You know what? I owe you an apology
Yes.
because I shouldn't have done it." Great, cool, and maybe the relationship continues, maybe it doesn't. And there's some people that just don't respond, and then there's once in a while somebody who responds and they continue on in the same path. And I'm like, okay, note to self: remove them from my from the email. It's just comical. But we live in this world where people are going to be very opinionated. So it seems like you have figured out a way to ignore that noise because you're big. You're big on social media, certainly in the industry.
That's nice to hear.
So, well, you are, and put it this way: people don't need to hear it from me. All you got to do is just connect with you, and they're going to see what you're doing and what's going on.
Thank you.
What's one other piece of advice? Time flies when we do this. What is one other piece of advice that you would give to someone who, whether it's they have the fear, they're struggling? I know you said you got to just do that first video and have someone else look at it. Don't take yourself too seriously. What's one more tip?
Oh, one more tip. Besides being comfortable being uncomfortable. And we've kind of just said that, but you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which I still do every day. Yeah, that's what you have to do.
Do you pay attention to your background when you're filming?
Uh-oh.
No, 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 no. There's nothing there. I'm just asking. I'm still
Oh, but
blown
it's
away by
important.
what people have behind them.
That's important though. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. You don't want to have, that's a good point. That's a good recommendation. Just be careful what's in your background.
Right. Just make sure you got something behind you that is not an unmade bed, dirty laundry stacked up. I
Correct.
mean, well, you know what? If you really want to let people know that that's your world and that's your life, then okay, then just keep it there. But it
Be
is
aesthetically pleasing. You know what I mean? Just because, yeah, that would be nice. That's a good
you want to
suggestion.
pay. Yeah, I even I do some of my podcasts from here. I do some of my tips from here. I do some at my desk or whatever. I have my friends who none of them are in the mortgage business, but they're always giving me feedback, and they're like, "Ron, lose the headset," whatever it is. I'm like, guys, but some suggestions, I'll say, you know what, you're right. Other suggestions, I'm like, leave me leave me alone. Just leave me alone. You know, you can keep them coming. And their joke is that they watch my videos. They go camping and stuff, and they watch my videos before they go to sleep. And I'm like, guys, I love you, but get a life. Okay, I should not be the last thing you're seeing or thinking about before you go to sleep. And
That's
and I'm not
funny.
exaggerating this at all.
That's
Um,
funny.
this is what I hear from them. All right, got my final question. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, because I know you've done interviews before. What's something you've never told anybody on an interview?
I'm such an open book, Ron. Let's think about this. What if
Doesn't have to be your biggest, deep, darkest secret, but
oh
what's that
man,
one
talk
thing?
about putting me on the spot.
That
Um,
it's my job.
I know, but that's a hard one because I do share a lot, almost to a fault, maybe. Mm,
What about a story from Brooklyn, which is where you're from?
probably something from, I don't, it's not exciting though. I used to work at the Taunton Dog Track while I went to college in Boston.
Okay, and
That's
there you
not
have
really
it.
exciting. I want to give you something good, but I can't really,
Okay, I'll make it a little bit easier for you. What's something from your childhood that has shaped you for today?
um, without throwing somebody under the bus. Um,
You could change the names to protect the innocent.
something from my childhood that has shaped me. Um, I mean, I used to get teased a lot. They used to call me Eagle Beak. I had a nose job. And I used to come
Okay.
home crying every single day from school, and until my father finally agreed to allow me to get a nose job. And then actually my Brooklyn story is, my after I had the nose job in Long Island, my dad dropped me off at my grandmother's house in Brooklyn, and she took care of me, and with the cast on. And I do remember that I wasn't supposed to take the cast off for a week, and I went in her bathroom and I popped it off, and she lost her shit. And
Okay.
yeah, that's what I remember. But I remember, so getting back to being teased, I'm really big on rooting for the underdog. I don't, I believe in being kind. Bullying is not acceptable. Because here I am, 54 years old, and I'm still, easily thinking about getting teased and getting off that bus every single day crying because I was being called Eagle Beak by all the boys.
Yeah.
Okay,
And can,
there you
and
go.
can you
Never
imagine
shared
if
that
you?
before.
All right. Well, I love asking that question because I never know what I'm going to hear, and neither does the audience. So, thank you for, being open enough to share that. And
Sure.
there's a lesson there. If you're going to get a nose job, don't take off your bandage early. Is that a
No,
fair
do
statement?
not. Because this shit is crooked now as a result.
Denise, I can't thank you enough for being on this program. So appreciate it. Appreciate it. Love what you're doing on social media. Keep it going, and I'm
Thank you.
hoping that everybody that's watching, if they haven't seen you before, they're going to start going to your social media school, and that's just following you and seeing what you do. And now that they know what goes on behind the scenes for you, I think a lot of people can grow from this. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ron.
Take
Take
care.
care. Ciao.
We'll talk soon. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.